Everyone in the village of Oboro whispered her name, but no one knew where she came from. She didn't walk, she glided. And when she smiled, the shadows around her seemed to shiver. She appeared at the edge of the village at dawn, standing silently in a crimson dress that shimmered as if stitched with threads alive. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, and for a moment, it felt as if the sun itself hesitated to rise. The villagers could not forget her. Children were drawn to her like moths to flame, enchanted by the pale perfection of her skin and the way her hair seemed to float even without wind. Adults felt a knot of unease tighten in their stomachs whenever she passed. Every pet that ventured near vanished without a trace. Dogs barked themselves hoarse before disappearing. Chickens left the coop, only to vanish into the mist. Even the village cats, creatures usually indifferent to everything, hissed at her from doorways and refused to cross her path. Candles she brushed past would flicker violently, some shattering without reason. And yet, people could not look away. No one ever saw her arrive. She simply existed, appearing one morning as if she had always been part of the village, yet utterly foreign. She moved with such grace that even the air around her seemed to pause. Days passed, and then more girls appeared. At first, the villagers thought the first girl had brought companions from some distant town, but these new girls were identical, ghostly perfect, and unnerving. They never spoke, only laughed softly, their voices carrying through empty rooms and echoing long after the girls had gone. The villagers began to notice a terrifying pattern. Anyone who stared at them too long disappeared. Children who followed them into the woods never returned. Men and women who lingered too close were gone by morning. Houses were left empty, as if their occupants had been swallowed whole, leaving only a faint smell of sulfur lingering in the air. A creeping dread settled over Oboro. Fear gnawed at the edges of every conversation, yet curiosity drew the villagers like flies to honey. One night, a young man named Chike, brave or foolish, could no longer ignore the mystery. He decided to follow the girls into the forest, taking only a small lantern and his heart full of defiance. The woods were silent at first, but the moment he stepped past the village edge, a cold wind rose, whispering words he could not understand. Shadows stretched unnaturally, bending and twisting toward him like living fingers. He thought he heard soft laughter, and then the ground seemed to ripple beneath his feet. Deeper into the forest, he found a clearing bathed in moonlight that refused to touch the earth. There, a gaping portal opened beneath the trees, black and pulsating as if it breathed. The girls descended effortlessly into the portal, moving with a grace that mocked gravity. Eri, the first girl, turned to him, her eyes now burning like coals, consuming all light. She tilted her head in amusement. "You're staring too long," she whispered, and Chike realized, with horror, that they were not of this world. The portal paused as if aware of his presence. A whispering wind carried 1,000 voices, calling his name, luring him closer. He tried to flee, but the forest had shifted, turning every tree into a trap, every shadow into a threat. A hand, pale and impossibly thin, reached out from the portal and brushed his shoulder. Panic surged through him as he stumbled backward. The girl's laughter filled the clearing, echoing inside his skull, shaking his mind. By morning, Chike was gone. Only the villagers' screams remained, punctuated by the faint, almost imperceptible laughter carried by the wind. At the edge of the village, the crimson dress shimmered once more in the first light of dawn, waiting for the next curious soul. And somewhere in the playground, a new girl appeared, her eyes glowing faintly, watching the children with a patience that stretched beyond human comprehension. No one in Oboro dared to speak her name aloud anymore. Mothers held their children closer. Villagers avoided the edge of the woods, but still, sometimes, just sometimes, someone would glimpse a flash of crimson in the fog, a glimmer of threads moving unnaturally, and they would feel it, the oppressive, quiet certainty that the girls from the underworld were still watching. Always watching. It was said that if you stared too long, if your curiosity overpowered your fear, you would never return. That the girls were not just beautiful, they were predators, hunting souls to feed some hunger that no human could comprehend. And in Oboro, the girl who always stands out always wins.